Welcome to Exam Fox.
Who is the author of Bepin Choudhury's Lapse of Memory? Satyajit Ray.
What kind of person was Bepin Choudhury? Serious and hard-working. Bepin Choudhury was characterized by his serious demeanor and diligent work ethic, always focused on his tasks. Few friends. He preferred a solitary existence, maintaining a small social circle and generally keeping to himself. Routine life. His life was meticulously organized around a strict and predictable routine, with little deviation or spontaneity.
The encounter at the bookshop. Who met Bepin Choudhury at the bookshop? Parimal Ghosh. What did Parimal Ghosh insist about Bepin? Parimal Ghosh's firm assertion. Parimal Ghosh, a stranger to Bepin, approached him with a strong assertion, claiming to know him from a past trip. The disputed visit to Ranchi in 1958. Parimal Ghosh insisted that Bepin had indeed gone to Ranchi in 1958, recalling specific details of the trip that Bepin couldn't remember.
Why was Bepin puzzled? A blank in his memory. Bepin Choudhury was deeply puzzled because he had no recollection whatsoever of visiting Ranchi, a place Parimal Ghosh insisted he had been. Convincing details. Adding to his bewilderment, Parimal Ghosh provided many specific and convincing details about the supposed trip, making Bepin question his own memory.
What reason did Bepin give for never visiting Ranchi? Bepin Choudhury was questioned about his supposed trip to Ranchi. He had a specific reason for never having visited the city. Bepin stated he had never visited Ranchi because his only close relative lived there, and he had simply never bothered to go and see him.
Who was Chunilal?
An old friend of Bepin Choudhury, having known him for many years. Struggling for job and money. At the time, Chunilal was facing significant difficulties, struggling desperately to find employment and in urgent need of financial assistance.
What did Chunilal confirm about Ranchi? Chunilal's confirmation. Chunilal, Bepin's old friend, unequivocally confirmed that Bepin Choudhury had indeed visited Ranchi, despite Bepin's own memory lapse. Details of assistance. He even recalled specific details, stating that he had helped Bepin with novels and assisted in making travel arrangements for the Ranchi trip. Whom did Bepin consult about his memory problem? The lingering doubt. Haunted by the unsettling encounter and his persistent memory lapse regarding Ranchi, Bepin Choudhury knew he needed professional help. Seeking medical counsel. He decided to consult a medical professional, specifically a doctor named Dr. Bepin Choudhury, to address his perplexing memory problem. What did Dr. Choudhury suggest to Bepin? The doctor's prescription. After hearing Bepin's perplexing case, Dr. Choudhury recommended a unique course of action to address his memory loss. A trip to Ranchi for recovery. The doctor suggested that Bepin should go to Ranchi himself, hoping that the familiar environment of the place would help refresh his memory.
How did Parimal Ghosh convince Bepin that he had been to Ranchi? Recalling personal tragedy. Parimal Ghosh brought up the deeply personal and tragic detail of Bepin's wife's death. Mentioning childlessness. He also reminded Bepin of his childless state, a fact only close acquaintances would know. Detailing a fall at Honeydew Falls. Ghosh precisely described an incident where Bepin had a fall near Honeydew Falls during the supposed trip. These incredibly personal and specific details deeply confused Bepin, forcing him to question his own memory and whether he had indeed forgotten such a significant event.
What role did Chunilal play in the story? Adding to Bepin's confusion, Chunilal confirmed Bepin's supposed trip to Ranchi
further deepening Bepin's confusion and doubt about his own memory. A plan for revenge. Unbeknownst to Bepin, Chunilal's confirmation was part of a larger plan for revenge, orchestrated due to Bepin's past neglect of him in times of need.
Why did Bepin feel distressed after meeting Chunilal? The successive confirmations from both Parimal Ghosh and now Chunilal regarding his supposed trip to Ranchi deeply unsettled Bepin. This dual affirmation from independent sources led him to profound distress as he began to seriously doubt the reliability of his own memory and sanity.
What did Bepin do in Ranchi to test his memory? Visiting key locations. To test his memory, Bepin Choudhury visited familiar places in Ranchi, including the Hudru Falls, hoping that the surroundings would trigger his recollections. Increased anxiety. Despite being at the locations, he could not recall anything from his supposed past visit, which only served to heighten his anxiety and confusion. Why did Bepin feel relief when he received a letter from Chunilal? The truth revealed. On receiving Chunilal's letter, Bepin finally understood the true nature of his memory lapse, realizing it wasn't a genuine medical condition. A calculated revenge. The letter revealed that the entire episode was a deliberate trick orchestrated by Chunilal as an act of revenge for Bepin's past neglect and refusal to help him. How did Chunilal take revenge on Bepin? Inventing the false trip. Chunilal initiated the deception by fabricating the entire story of Bepin's supposed trip to Ranchi. Spreading the story. He then ensured the story reached Bepin by having Parimal Ghosh recount the false details convincingly, confirming the deception. Finally, Chunilal personally confirmed the fabricated trip, driving Bepin to profound doubt about his own memory and sanity.
What does the story reveal about Bepin's character? Honest, hardworking, and respected. Bepin Choudhury was characterized by his integrity, diligent work ethic, and the high regard in which others held him. Lonely. Despite his respected position and outward success, the story reveals a sense of underlying loneliness in Bepin's character. Unsympathetic to friends. He demonstrated a lack of compassion and support towards his friends, notably in his refusal to help Chunilal when he was in need. Overconfident about memory. Bepin displayed an excessive confidence in the infallibility of his own memory, which ultimately became a central point of the deception.
Why is the ending of the story surprising? The reader, much like Bepin himself, becomes fully convinced of Bepin's severe memory loss throughout the narrative, experiencing the same confusion and distress. The surprise lies in the final revelation that Bepin's memory loss was not a medical condition, but a meticulously planned and executed prank by Chunilal, taking both Bepin and the reader by surprise. What is the significance of the title Bepin Choudhury's Lapse of Memory? The title highlights Bepin's central struggle as he experiences a profound psychological crisis, constantly doubting the reliability of his own memory. Ironically, the lapse is not genuine. Bepin's memory is perfectly intact, adding a layer of dramatic irony to the narrative. The true significance lies in the fact that this supposed memory loss is a meticulously planned deception orchestrated by others to torment Bepin. What message does the story convey? Neglecting others backfires. The story illustrates how neglecting the feelings and needs of others can ultimately lead to negative repercussions for oneself, much like a boomerang. Loneliness breeds vulnerability. It reveals that loneliness, despite outward success or composure, can make an individual emotionally and psychologically susceptible to external influences. Furthermore, a detached mindset and lack of empathy toward others leaves a person vulnerable to the schemes or manipulations of those they've wronged.